Excellent. Excellent. Yeah. No, I just got home. Yeah, from New York, silly. Yeah. Yeah, I went there this weekend. Don't you like the light? It's a little bit of chiaroscuro. And mi visage. Yeah, no, I was in New York. It was really exciting. It's really coming back to life. I was kind of shocked, actually, because I was like, this past week seemed pretty terrible to me. I mean, everybody was excited about spring, of course. It was one of those gorgeous weekends in New York. Early spring weekends, blue sky. It reminded me of 9/11, actually. Oops! Yeah. You see, we're heading into 9/11 season. It's going to be the 20th anniversary this coming September 11th. And, you know, I have a vintage car, as you know. You've been in it a number of times. And, you know, with my halo light back here, I've been soaking up so much knowledge. It's like I just keep getting more and more and more enlightened. Somebody described me as intellectually advanced this week. And I said, oh no, you are intellectually advanced, not me. Only as good as my teachers, only as good as my students, as I always like to say. So, yeah, I've been trying to make this point for quite some time, but I finally pulled it together recently. Sorry, there's no small talk tonight. I'm just getting right to the point. So much of the last 4 years was like all 8 years of the George W. Bush administration, and yet that comparison was hardly ever made during the last 4 years of the 45 administration. And then the next 8 years of the Obama administration, while not only failing to really counter any of the advances of the right. Remember, I do political economy. Yeah, this is neo-left analysis, but, you know, really I'm not interested in right or left because those categories also come out of a European tradition. And if we're serious about abolition and decolonization and ending anti-Blackness and anti-brownness and anti-Asianness and anti-indigenousness, anti-indigeneity, and cis heteropatriarchy and ableism and imperialism and all the rest. All the isms. Then we're going to have to really think about whether this representative democracy, liberal democracy, whether liberal democracy really is the best form for us in which to finally break all of these isms once and for all and leave them in the so-called dustbin bin of history. Oh, when I digressed, I missed a key branch here. The Obama administration not only failed to adequately counter the advances of the right, they also barely progressed on any of the progressive policies that people wanted them to progress on. While also, in a third way, right, and this is not through any fault of the Obama administration, this is just simply grotesque anti-Black racial politics in the United States of America, of which I'm an expert because I'm a what you call it, a conscientious objector to the United States of America and whiteness, conscientious objector to anti-Blackness, and so on. Anti-Muslimness, anti-Islam. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, I'm a political theorist. But nobody wants to take me seriously because for some reason, like, they think that I'm in English. And I was like, English is a colonial language. You know, I think in dream and Espanol. Possibly como el artista, el compositor, a composer, Tomás Luis de Victoria, quien nosotros oímos a él. We're listening to him. Ahora, sí. A Jesuit. So, right, the right's reaction to the 8 years of the Obama administration. Remember, Trump started that birther bullshit. You know, like practically midway through Obama's first term. But certainly which would have been like 2010. I mean, the ink is barely dry, so to speak, on the last 10 years. And it's unbelievable what happened in this country. And then I'm in New York this weekend. And, you know, there's people in restaurants. There's people waiting for tables. There's a lot of people on the street, you know, at least where I was downtown. Of course, it was a Saturday night. It was, the first night of spring. So people were out. But it also felt completely disconnected to me. I mean, I love New York. You know I do. Yes, in fact, I'd like to see you there sometime. So to my next trip, yeah. No, I'm going back to Oakland, actually. I'm going to spread the gospel, in a manner of speaking, yeah. Right, like, you know, I don't want to be a negative Nelly. You know, I have to balance every day. How much negative do I want to let in? How much violence do I need to process? Right? People don't talk about this nearly enough, but people who work on atrocity, violence, multidimensional violence, abuse, these topics that I think about a lot because I've come so close to them. I can't not see it. And I just see it more and more. The other night driving down Germantown Avenue here in Philly. Yes, I'm back in Philly, what I'm calling the Founding Fathers capital of the US of A, because here's where everything went awry. Constitutional conventions. Yeah, I'm just defying all genres. It's like that song Defying Gravity. That was the conclusion of my dissertation, was to defy all genres in order to thwart the easy, uncomplicated reproduction of racial capitalism and settler colonialism. The systems, among others, that link race, coloniality, and the law. Yeah. And now I'm just trying to share my wisdom. And if people learn something from it, fantastic. If they don't, fantastic. Just keep it moving. I learned that from a number of people, actually. And who also can't stand to really take in so much violence. Our body minds are so porous. We really do pick up so much energy because we're all made out of energy, right? That's physics. And metaphysics, in my reckoning, is the philosophy of what physics means. And that might be a little bit too high for people who might be hearing this. And that's all right. Because what I'm really sharing is my own set of stories. People have for years wanted to hear or have said to me enough times that I know people are interested, about how I worked through all of my various challenges and complications around drinking and anxiety, because I have 2 separate anxiety disorders, thank you very much, and my neuroatypicality, my neurodivergence, right, which, honestly speaking, everybody's neurodivergent, because human beings are infinitely complex. I think I keep trying to make this point. I know I'm all over the place, but that's life. You just wake up every day in the middle of something, in the middle of things, right? There is no beginning and there is no end. There's only presence. There's only the present is what I meant to say. There's only presence. How do you show up for other people? How do you show up for yourself? That's what I think about. I was with a fellow last night, a very wonderful person. He had fantastic energy. But he was also very anxious, which is a combination I know very well myself because I like to think I have fantastic energy. Not to, pat myself on the back or anything, but, I attract people. People do that, And I used to also be really anxious. And the two sort of went hand in hand. And, the person that I was with last, who frankly I'm still in love with and will always love, is also very anxious. And not to put his business out there, but, I haven't been really anxious until recently, because the world's really opening up again. And it takes a lot, to tolerate, again, the violences, like bile coming up. No, it's not. I just burped. I had some delicious banana bread earlier that I made myself with almond flour. Now, I'm pretty sure the almond flour is not sustainable, right? Like, I'm sure that's the case. It has to be. Because capitalism has found yet another way. And while we're at it, capitalism is also a Western concept, but it accurately describes something. Capitalism is always finding new markets. You just have to keep marketing yourself, right? That's what people tell you. Develop a brand. Just keep marketing yourself. Find your niche. Sure. But other people have to find you too. Goes both ways. Mutual aid. Mentorship. Movement goes both ways. Use your head and your body at the same time. Or if you're using your mind a lot, then use your body a lot. Go back and forth. It's like that weirdo, hand gesture that academics famously or tragically make. It's a circle. It's a balancing act. This fellow was very anxious, and I felt it. And I didn't feel anxious in the moment. I was happy to be back in New York, even though I was very, attuned to the fact that people were dining out and having fun as if the last year and some change didn't happen. This country has been through hell. And when I say country, I say the people who reproduce this country in their actions, voluntarily or not, either because of their financial economic circumstances where they're essentially coerced into supporting the status quo in order to survive and be reproduced themselves. That is to say, they reproduce themselves. They have the means to go to sleep and get up and show up for work every day. Talking about essential workers, obviously, but not just essential workers, right? I mean, we are in open, ongoing political catastrophe here. You know, I don't want to be the boy who cried wolf, because the truth is I don't really know what's going to happen in the future, because again, I'm focused on the present. Oh, I'm so sorry. Am I lecturing you? I'm just so connected to my vision right now. I actually lashed out at some strangers yesterday. I'm not proud of it, but I'm going to share it. You know, this is also a durational routine. I've been holding this phone up with my right hand for the past 22 minutes and 7, 8, 9, 10. You see, I'm ahead of time. Yeah, I got a great parking spot on Water Street. I used to work on Water Street, funnily enough. At the law firm Sullivan and Cromwell. I was shadowing the attorneys. It was another kind of, not quite participant observation, more like an ethnography that I was doing. Yeah, I just wanted to know how lawyers worked, like what they were like, if they were any smarter than me. No, in fact. I don't have to say it, do I? Anyway, the meter there went until 10 p.m. And when I parked, it was 6:30, and you could only get a ticket, right? You can only pay for 3 hours of parking at a time, right? So 3 hours, here's a math lesson. 3 hours plus 6:30 p.m. equals 9:30 p.m. So I went back there, and I had taken out, I opened the car and like took out the previous, I don't remember what I did now, but like I couldn't get the meter to work. It wouldn't take my cards. So I was like, whatever, I just have to like sit here. Oh, that's what happened. I just have to sit here. Old technique, right? Like, okay, it's 9:30. Street smarts kid I'm sharing right now. New York City street smarts. If you have a car, driver smarts, okay? I wish I could just have to sit here until 10 p.m. in case a parking enforcement officer comes by. But I was meeting my friend, so I was like, you know, I don't need to sit in the car. I can just like stand on the street. And it was a nice night out, so I was like, cool. And I was happy to be in New York. And I was happy that it was a temperate night. I was happy that I could just wear a jacket. I'm still wearing it inside because it was a little bit chilly when I got in here. Plus, I just love this jacket. Robert Duffy helped me pick it out. I mean, the size. Anywho, to quote my ex, Arthur, get out of the car, lights were off, everything, walked to the sidewalk, and two people, I don't know their ethnicity, race, I don't know, light-skinned though, and posh car. They didn't seem so posh to me. Ugh, I know, I'm so pretentious. It's one of my, I'm working on it. But you know, this is a performance. Right? It felt a little bit like they were trying to be somebody else's. They didn't quite feel, I didn't quite get it. Let's just put it, listen, I'm sure they're lovely people, but for whatever reason, our energies didn't gel. So I was waiting on the sidewalk and they pulled up and said, "Oh, buddy, are you," I think they said buddy. It was sort of that kind of bro thing. "Oh, buddy, are you leaving?" And I was like, "No," or I mouthed no, and I went like this. I thought this meant staying. I guess it means you're not, I guess it means that you're safe. You know, like in baseball or something. I don't know. But, so they're on the sidewalk. And then they reversed and they were waiting back there. And I was like, because you couldn't park, the parking stop, there was a bus station, but there was a bus stop behind me. You couldn't park behind me. And I was like, oh my God, these people, like, for some reason think that I'm moving my car, even though all the lights are off, and I'm literally standing on the side, like, looking at my phone, trying to look preoccupied, because they're kind of freaking me out. Because I don't understand, like, what's so confusing about the situation. Like, I'm obviously not in the car. The car isn't on. No lights, right? No music. The windows aren't down. They saw me come out of the car and wait in the sidewalk. Now, admittedly, my waiting on the sidewalk was a curveball. Where did all the sports talk come from? Did you know? Oh, you're riveted. Like a pair of Levi's? Yeah, no, they're not sponsoring. No. I'm not an influencer. I keep trying to tell you that I'm not an influencer. No. I'm the OG. God. Yeah, my son is Jesus. Does it look like I've been decapitated? I mean, what I just said was basically sacrilegious. I could have had my head chopped off in an earlier century. Anyway, while you ponder, oof. That's my amethyst right there. Oof. Yeah. While you ponder that cascade of switch turns, in my monologue, in this episode of Hysterical Whiteness TM, thank you, Christina. My Christina Arthur. My, in quotation marks, yeah. Just as in the Christina that I know. Who I think is brilliant. Because she sure enough, the couple in the car, a man and a woman, definitely, in the traditional fashion of gender. Two genders, that kind of gender. The old school gender. The old school genders. car moves forward, rolls down the window. The gentleman, and this is a classic, the gentleman like yells across the lady. And they were about my age, actually. Although they were like, like I'm a bobo. They were like yuppies, sort of yells, raises his voice, and projects across the woman, right? Because, of course, it's the man's job to ask the man on the street, even though I have long hair, they still perceived me as a man. To ask me, he was like, hey, buddy, are you staying or are you going? And I was like, and here's where I lashed out. I'm so ashamed of myself. I said, out of frustration, actually, I said, does it look like I'm going? I mean, I wish I had delivered it sort of as softly and kind of perfectly like that. The perfectly was also a reference to God, divinity. I'm ecumenical. I'm pan everything when it comes to spirituality and religion. Let me have it all. Because I just want to keep becoming a truer and truer version of myself, not a better and better version of myself, like many people say. I would just like to become a truer version of myself, one that connects in the way that I want it to connect. And so I said, my voice, I had a bit more of a tone as we close in on 33 here in the final seconds of this episode of Hysterical Whiteness. Subscribe if you'd like to get notified of the next one. I said, does it look like I'm leaving? And I felt a little bit of anger. But I thought, and then the woman speaks, oh, we didn't, I said, no, I put my hand down. They were like, oh, we didn't hear that. And I was like, I just turned away and like, off they went. And I was just like, if you think you found an empty spot or an about to be empty spot in like Manhattan, really think critically about that, because chances are it's not an empty spot or an about to be empty spot, because it's really hard to find parking in Manhattan. And you really have to scrutinize your spot, because my car was towed just this past October. Fortunately, it was towed basically like 5 blocks from where it was. So funny how the world works. And then I did get a ticket this morning, not because of my parking situation, because my car inspection had expired. Never got a ticket for that here in Philly, though. Thank you for listening.